How's everybody doing this evening? No intro. This is going to be a short stream just to cover some breaking news. Generally, I don't do this, but this is major breaking news. So that's why I think that it should be covered. So let me switch back because it's not showing. Loading the screen. There it goes. Okay. So, it's Jeffrey Epstein found injured in New York City jail cell after possible suicide attempt, sources from New York Channel 4 NBC by Jonathan Dentist. Published 55 minutes ago, updated 5 minutes ago, which would put it around 10:45 was when I started seeing it show up on Twitter. So let's read this. Accused pedophile and wealthy Manhattan financier Jeffrey Epstein was found injured and in fetal position inside his cell at a New York County jail, according to sources close to the investigation. Epstein, who was being held at Metropolitan Correctional Center during his trial for conspiracy and sex trafficking, was found semi-conscious with marks on his neck. Two sources told News 4. Investigators are trying to piece together exactly what happened, saying details remain murky. Two sources tell News 4 that Epstein may have tried to hang himself, while a third source cautioned that the injuries were not serious, a question if Epstein might be using it as a way to get a transfer. A fourth source said an assault has not been ruled out, and that another inmate was questioned. The inmate who investigators have talked to in Lower Manhattan facility has been identified as Nicholas Tartagalone, according to two sources. Tartagalone is a former police officer in Westchester County who was arrested in December 2016 and accused of killing 4 men in alleged cocaine distribution conspiracy, then burying their bodies in his yard at Otisville in Orange County, according to court records. Sources told News 4 investigators questioned Tartagalone, and the former cop claimed not to have seen anything and insisted he did not touch Epstein, sources said. The attorney for Tartagalone denied all the claims his clients attacked the financier, saying his client and Epstein get along well. The attorney added Epstein was seen today and appears to be fine. They are in the same unit and doing well, said Bruce Barkett, an attorney for Tartagalone. He said any claim that Tartagalone may have assaulted Epstein is absolutely not true. Barkett said Tartagalone and Epstein had been complaining about the conditions inside the MCC, including flooding, rodents, and bad food. Epstein is now on suicide watch inside MCC, according to two sources. Attorneys for Epstein did not immediately return calls for comment. A spokesman for the Bureau of Prisons did not return calls, and spokesman for the U.S. Marshals and U.S. Attorney's Office declined to comment. Most recently, in the sex trafficking case against Epstein, the wealthy financier had been denied bail on July 18th following a bombshell search warrant revelation that Epstein had a fake passport and piles of cash stashed in a safe. U.S. District Judge Richard Berman cited risk of flight and danger to the community in his decision against Epstein, a registered sex offender and private island owner who faces now federal charges for exploiting dozens of underage girls in New York and Florida in the early 2000s. That meant Epstein would remain behind bars pending trial, a date for a start which is yet to be set. Epstein's attorney appealed the bail ruling on Monday. Berman said prosecutors established a preponderance of evidence of Epstein being a flight risk, calling the fake Saudi passport concerning, and said the government also established community danger by clear convincing evidence, which led to his decision to keep the financier behind bars. Epstein's lawyers had wanted him released on house arrest with electronic monitoring at a $70 million Manhattan mansion. That's the Lex Wexner mansion. They said he wouldn't run, and he was willing to pledge a fortune of at least $559 million as collateral. Berman described the proposed bail package as irrefutably inaccurate, saying, "I doubt any bail package could overcome this danger to the community." Prosecutors, meanwhile, had argued evidence against Epstein was growing stronger by the day, after several more women contacted him in the recent days to say he had abused them when they were underage. Berman cited victims' testimonies having an impact on his decision. In addition to Epstein's alleged history of intimidating, threatening, and paying off witnesses or other parties involved in the case. One of the accusers he has cited was Courtney Wild, who recently came forward and said Epstein started sexually abusing her when she was 14 in Palm Beach. She told reporters at a news conference in New York Tuesday that Epstein would never stop sexually abusing children until he's in jail, and urged the judge to deny bail. Berman also questioned whether Epstein was adhered to the requirements of being a registered sex offender, which he had to do so as part of a plea deal with Florida prosecutors more than a decade ago. Epstein had pleaded not guilty to conspiracy and sex trafficking charges brought up by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan. While his accusations are not part of the indictment, the financier's next court date is set for July 31st. Now, the cop that has been implicated as possibly being involved in this, Tartagalone, recently there's a news story that came on here, and I want to thank George from cavdev.org who sent it to me on July 23rd, 2019, that he had a phone while in custody for his quadruple killing case. An illicit cell phone was confiscated from former Briarcliff cop Nicholas Tartagalone while he was in federal custody awaiting trial in the killing of 4 men, according to court reports. Correction officers took the phone from Tartagalone on July 3rd at his cell at Metropolitan Correctional Facility in Lower Manhattan. So at the beginning of this month is when that occurred. So when it comes to Epstein's attempted murder, him being in the fetal position, blue in the face, most people want to jump the gun. They'll say, well, he's a pedophile, sex trafficker, a horrible human being. He deserves it. He has to seek justice. He has to seek justice in front of a court of law. For one, so that we get more information, and for two, for the victims to get justice. If this is true, and he was, roughed up or threatening to commit suicide or whatever, or attempted suicide in quotation marks, then if something happened to Epstein and he died doing suicide, then it's all wrapped up. Bill Clinton won't be investigated, Donald Trump won't be investigated, numerous other people involved with this, Alan Dershowitz, the investigation is going to stop for them. Epstein paid for his crimes. You'll see that with his life. You'll see that in the media. So he has to go to court, people. We can't be excited that something's going to happen to him. Another pedophile, if he dies in prison, that's fine if he's convicted afterwards. Okay? That can't happen beforehand. He has to face justice. If he gets sentenced to a life in prison for his crimes, which he should be, then he will die in prison. Okay? Justice has to be served, because if it's not beforehand, then this will be completely tied up and wrapped up in a bow. That's if this is true. That's if this is true. That's if Epstein did not stage this to get moved somewhere, to get house arrest for sympathy. We don't know. But what we do know currently from this story is it does appear it is serious because of him being in the fetal position, him being blue in the face, him being checked out medically. Those are all serious things, that this may not be just something that he did just to get transfer or just to get house arrest, to be looked at again for house arrest. So, we'll find more about this story as it goes on. That's about it. I don't really have too much on this other than I wanted to cover it. Okay, Dick's Gun in the chat says this apparently happened yesterday morning, AM-ish. Okay, that's interesting. Radar Online was the first source. Now, I know Pecker and Trump, but still, this is the first source I saw. Yeah, you're right. Okay. The source said it happened yesterday. We're now just hearing about this now, around 1:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, Dick's Gun. If the Radar Online is true, then yes, what did happen yesterday, and now we're just hearing about that now. That's very, very, very interesting. Thank you, Dick's Gun in the chat for that. The NBC story I read, I think I must have glossed over that or I missed that. But yeah, so, this could be, again, if true, they're trying to bounce him off so that they can sweep this under the rug just like they did for Lawrence C. King and the Franklin scandal. He was deemed crazy and then later stood trial and only got convicted for embezzlement. So with Epstein, this could be the fixes in for that. If something happens to him, then they could just, we got him. It's done. Nothing to see here. He has to go to court. He has to face his accusers. Justice has to be served. Hopefully this time. It wasn't served with the sweetheart deal. Let me put that in. With Alexander Acosta in Florida by the federal prosecutors. But that being said, he has to go to trial so that it could possibly happen. Then we'll get more information. We'll get a personal testimony from Epstein. I think it's very vital for this because, look, I want him to face justice for all the crimes that he's did. Just like all of us who are most likely all of us who are watching this video and listening to my voice. But to get there, he has to be in a court of law by a jury of his peers. If he commits suicide or if something happens to him and he commits suicide in quotation marks, then the New World Order will use this to wrap everything up in a tight little bow. And then Clinton, Maxwell, Wexner, Dershowitz, Trump, none of them will be investigated. It'll just be over with. That's why this has to be looked at. Okay? So, email me some stories that we've read the documents at protonmail.com. Let me know if you guys hear any more interesting information pertaining to this as the story progresses. I might cover it. We get any more information about this. I don't think we're really going to get that much information about this, in my honest opinion, more than what we already have now. But we'll see. And that's it for this evening, everyone. Take care. And as always, till next time, always read the documents. Good night, everybody.